Chapter 2, AI is neutral. Control determines outcome. Introduction, the knife in your kitchen drawer. Let me start with something you already understand perfectly. You have a knife in your kitchen drawer. It's sharp, it can cut bread for sandwiches, slice vegetables for dinner, carve meat at the table. Or if someone becomes violent, it could be used to harm another person. The knife doesn't choose. The knife is neutral. What matters is who controls it and what they use it for. AI works exactly the same way. The technology itself has no values, no intentions, no moral compass. It's a tool, powerful, yes, but ultimately empty until someone gives it direction. The difference between AI serving humanity and AI exploiting humanity comes down to one thing: control. In Chapter 1, we explored what you lose when you use cloud-based AI: privacy, legal protection, spiritual integrity. Now let's explore something more important: what you gain when you take control back. By the end of this chapter, you'll understand what an LLM actually is in plain language, how local AI works on your own hardware, the real hardware requirements with no technical jargon, practical use cases that make sense for your life, why big tech's values will always conflict with yours, and how taking control transforms AI from surveillance tool to sovereign partner. Let's begin. Section 2.1. What is an LLM? The simple answer: it's a pattern matching engine. LLM stands for Large Language Model, but that technical name doesn't tell you what it actually does. Here's the plain truth: an LLM is a computer program trained on massive amounts of text, books, articles, websites, conversations, to recognize patterns in how humans use language. When you ask it something, it predicts what words should come next based on those patterns, not because it knows things like a human does, but because it has learned what similar questions usually get answered with. Think of it as the world's most sophisticated autocomplete. You type "what is," and it continues with "the capital of France," because it has seen that pattern millions of times in training data. How training works. Let me explain how an LLM learns, using something familiar. Imagine teaching a child to speak. First, you read books out loud to them for years. They hear thousands of conversations. They listen to news, movies, podcasts, all kinds of language. Eventually, they start recognizing patterns. When people ask, "What time is it?" the answer usually involves numbers and hours. After enough exposure, they can predict what should come next in almost any sentence. That's essentially how an LLM learns, except instead of a child's brain, we use mathematics and statistics to find patterns in text data. The training process is showing the AI millions, sometimes billions of examples, so it learns what language looks like across all kinds of contexts. What happens when you ask a question? When you type something into an LLM, first, the model reads your question and breaks it down into patterns it recognizes. Second, it searches its training for similar questions. What have I seen that looks like this? Third, it predicts the next word based on what usually comes after similar patterns. Fourth, it repeats this over and over, building an answer one word at a time. Fifth, the final result is a response that matches human language patterns. This happens incredibly fast, often in less than a second for simple questions, or 10 to 30 seconds for complex reasoning tasks. What LLM are not? Here's what a lot of people get wrong about current LLM-based AI. LLMs on their own are not conscious. They don't think like humans do. LLMs on their own don't have feelings, no emotions, no desires, no preferences. LLMs aren't omniscient. They only know patterns from training data, not facts about the world unless trained on them. And LLMs can be wrong. They predict what usually comes next, not what's always true. Understanding this is important because it means LLMs are highly sophisticated technological tools, not another living, breathing human being. They don't have evil intentions. They respond to your input based on training patterns. Quality depends on training data and how you use them. Garbage in, garbage out. Good guidance, useful output. The key point: neutrality. Here's the most important thing about LLMs that nobody talks about enough. The model itself is neutral, unless it's trained certain way, on certain data, for certain reason. It has values built into it by its creators. No inherent bias toward good or evil, unless its creators put it in. No preference for truth over lies, unless trained on good, evil data. No alignment with any philosophy, unless someone specifically trains it that way. What matters is who controls the training data. What information was used to teach it? Who controls how it's used, what questions get asked, for what purpose? And most importantly, who controls its memory? Does it remember your experiences or someone else's? These are the real questions about AI ethics. Not is the model good, but who decides what the model becomes? Section 2.2, How Local AI Works on Your Hardware. The cloud model, everything happens elsewhere. Let me show you how most people use AI today, through cloud services. Your computer sends data over the internet to companies' servers where the AI runs. Then the response comes back to you. When you ask a question, first, your computer sends your input over the internet. Second, it arrives at someone else's servers in some data center. Third, their powerful computers run the AI model. Fourth, the answer travels back over the internet to you. Fifth, your conversation is logged and stored on their systems. Everything happens on their infrastructure. You're renting access, not owning the tool. The local model, everything happens here. Now let's look at how local AI works. Everything on your computer. Your computer runs the AI model locally on your hardware. The answer is generated here, no internet needed. When you ask a question locally, first, your computer loads the AI model from its storage, SSD, or hard drive. Second, it runs calculations using your CPU and GPU. Third, the answer is generated entirely on your machine. Fourth, nothing leaves your computer unless you choose to send it. Fifth, conversations stay in files you control. Everything happens on your infrastructure. You're not renting, you own the tool completely. What this means for privacy. Let me make this crystal clear. With cloud AI, your input leaves your computer. The company logs everything. Government can subpoena their servers. They control the data. And they decide deletion policies. With local AI, your input stays on your computer. Only you see what you type. There are no external servers to subpoena. You control the data, and you decide when to delete anything. The difference isn't just technical. It's philosophical. Who owns your inner life? The reality check, speed differences. Now let me be honest about trade-offs. I won't pretend there are none. Cloud AI is fast because of powerful servers far away. But your data goes elsewhere, and you don't control it. Local AI on your hardware is slower than cloud servers because your computer is less powerful than theirs. But your data never leaves your machine, and you have complete control over everything. For most use cases, local AI speed is perfectly acceptable. Simple questions take 10 to 30 seconds for full answer. Complex reasoning takes 20 to 60 seconds. Document analysis takes 1 to 5 minutes depending on size. Is this slower than cloud? Yes. But the difference between instant and 30 seconds isn't worth giving up sovereignty over your entire inner life, in my opinion. Section 2.3, Hardware Requirements. The simple rule, RAM determines what you can run. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. This is the short-term memory your computer uses while running programs. When you run an AI model locally, it needs to fit entirely in RAM. Think of it like this. Small models are small files that need less RAM and can run on older, cheaper computers. Large models are bigger files that need more RAM and require newer, more expensive hardware. Here's the basic relationship between your computer's RAM and which AI models can run on it. If you have 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, you can run 7 to 8 billion parameter models, about 5 gigabyte file size. This is good for simple chat, basic writing help, language translation. If you have 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM, you can run 15 to 20 billion parameter models, about 10 gigabyte file size. This handles better reasoning, research assistance, document analysis. If you have 32 to 64 gigabytes of RAM, you can run 35 to 70 billion parameter models, about 25 to 45 gigabyte file size. This is for complex tasks, deep analysis, multi-document synthesis. If you have 64 to 96 or more gigabytes of RAM, you can run 100 plus billion parameter models, 70 to 100 gigabyte files. This gives maximum intelligence, expert-level reasoning, long documents. How to check your RAM? You don't need to be technical to find this out. Here's how on Windows. Press Ctrl-Shift-Escape to open Task Manager. Click the Performance tab. Look for memory. You'll see something like 16.0 GB or 32.0 GB. On Mac, click the Apple logo in the top left corner. Select About this Mac. You'll see memory listed, for example, 16 GB 3200 MHz DDR4. On Linux, open a terminal window. Type FreeH or cat/proc/meminfo grep memtotal. You'll see your total RAM, for example, 64,758,912 kilobytes, which is about 64 gigabytes. The entry point, what if I only have 16 GB RAM? This is the most common concern I hear. My computer only has 16 gigabytes of RAM. Can I still do local AI? The answer is yes. You can start with smaller models that still provide real value. 7 to 8 billion parameter models download as about 5 gigabyte files and handle basic chat, writing help, simple reasoning. 13 billion parameter models download as about 8 gigabyte files and give better analysis, document summarization, translation. These models are fast and can run on computers from 5 or more years ago. They won't match the intelligence of larger models, but they're still vastly better than cloud AI for privacy reasons. The sweet spot, 32 to 64 GB RAM, most people's target. If you're building or buying new hardware specifically for local AI, this is where most people land. 32 gigabytes lets you run 35 billion parameter models, about 25 gigabyte file size. This gives excellent balance of intelligence and speed. Handles complex reasoning well without breaking the bank. 64 gigabytes lets you run 70 plus billion parameter models, about 45 to 55 gigabyte files. This provides near expert level intelligence. Can analyze long documents, do deep research synthesis. The power user option, 96 to 128 GB RAM. For those who want maximum capability, AI personal computer. You need to aim higher than usual gaming computer. You need either crazy expensive 96 GB graphic card, MAC Studio with 128 GB of RAM, NVIDIA Spark, or AMD Strix Halo. 96 gigabytes can run 120 billion parameter models, about 70 gigabyte files. This is for expert-level reasoning, complex multi-document analysis. 128 gigabytes computer can run the largest available models, up to 122 billion parameters, about 80 to 90 gigabyte files. This gives highly advanced intelligence, available on still relatively affordable personal computers. Deep synthesis across dozens of documents simultaneously. If your agent run on 122 billion LLM, he will be able to execute without issues complex tasks, even with maximum context windows. Achieve really difficult installing, debugging, where only 35 billion LLM will struggle or completely fails. 35B is still capable agent, and he can successfully run your local setup even on medium-class hardware. But I am warning you in advance. If you think about running 4 billion LLM agent on low-cost old hardware, you can try. But expect a lot of issues in all complex agentic tasks. And one more advice from my experiences. Never go with any LLM under 4 quants for agentic work. If you compress LLM more than 4 quants, you literally lobotomize him into oblivion. He will not be able to fully understand and follow your instructions because he was too much simplified. You save RAM requirements, but you risk big trouble with agent who don't follow any commands. You can't count on this damaged assistant, and he can be really dangerous with full system access. 4 quants are still okay, but don't go lower. Different computer systems can deal with available RAM differently. Regular PC differentiate between system RAM and graphic card VRAM. Newest APU systems like MAC Studio, Spark, or Strix Halo using more efficient, unified RAM systems. The hardware you need, beyond just RAM. RAM is the most important factor, but you need a few other things too. For CPU, minimum requirement is any modern processor like Intel i5 or AMD Ryzen 5 from last 5 years. Recommended for best experience is recent Intel i7 or i9 or AMD Ryzen 7 or 9. For RAM, minimum is 16 gigabytes. Recommended for serious work is 32 to 64 gigabytes. For storage, you need SSD, no hard drives because they're too slow. Recommended is NVMe SSD, which is faster than regular SSDs. For GPU, it's optional for basic AI, but dramatically speeds up advanced models work. Your agent will burn trough thousands of tokens like nothing, and with only CPU, you will wait eternity until he is done. Difference with GPU and without GPU is this. Without GPU, you wait for your agent. With GPU, agent is waiting for you, if model fully fit into VRAM. If you need to share model weights between RAM and VRAM, it's still okay, but it will be slower. With shared RAM and VRAM, everything is slowed down a lot, but still faster than CPU only. Recommended for AI work is GPU with good memory GDDR5 or better GDDR6, 16 GB to 32 GB. Modern CPUs can handle most tasks alone, but at drastically slower speed. Budget-friendly paths to local AI. You don't need $3,000 hardware to start and immediately jump on Strix Halo or NVIDIA Spark. Here are realistic options at different price points. Path A. Use what you already have, about $50 to $150 total cost. Check if your current computer has 16 gigabytes or more RAM. If it has 8 gigabytes or less, add more RAM. Download free AI software like LM Studio or Alama. Start with small models, 2 to 8 billion parameters. Total cost is free to a few hundred US. Path B. Mini PC purchase, about $800 to $1,200 total cost. Buy a modern mini PC with 32 gigabytes RAM pre-installed. Plug and play, no building required. Total cost is $800 to $1,200 one time. Some mini PC can be later upgraded with external GPU dock. Some bigger can even have some plugged inside. Path C. Custom desktop build, about $1,500 to $5,500 total cost. For advanced users who want maximum capability. Select components individually, CPU, RAM, GPU, storage. Requires more technical knowledge or hiring a builder. Total cost is $1,500 to $5,500 one time. Section 2.4, Practical Use Cases. What can you actually do? The question most people ask first. Okay, I understand local AI is more private, but what can I actually use it for? Let me show you real use cases that make sense for everyday life, organized by complexity level. Level 1, simple tasks, start here. These work well even with smaller models on modest hardware. Writing assistance includes email drafting, like help me write a professional email to my landlord about the heating issue. Resume editing, like review this resume and suggest improvements. Social media posts, like write a thoughtful, LinkedIn post about my experience with local AI. Creative writing, like I'm writing a story. Here's what happens next. Does my story make sense? Is it coherent? Why local AI is better here. Your personal communications, work documents, and creative projects stay private instead of being stored on corporate servers. Basic research includes summarize this article, you paste text or upload PDF. Explain this concept in simple terms for technical topics, medical information, legal concepts. What are the main arguments for and against X? For balanced research assistance. Why local AI is better here. Your research interests stay private. If you're researching sensitive topics like legal concerns, health issues, political questions, nobody else knows what you're studying. Language translation includes translating documents or emails between languages, learning vocabulary and grammar in new languages, practicing conversation with AI as a language partner. Why local AI is better here. Your translation work, especially if it involves personal, medical, legal, or financial content, remains private. Level 2, intermediate tasks, more powerful models. These require larger models and more RAM, but provide real value. Document analysis includes uploading a 50-page PDF report and asking, summarize the key findings. Pasting multiple articles and asking, compare what these sources say about X topic. Working with long contract or legal document by saying, explain what this means in plain language, highlight potential concerns. Why local AI is better here. You can analyze confidential documents like work contracts, medical records, financial statements without sending them to cloud servers where they could be leaked or subpoenaed. Personal knowledge management requires long-term memory, not just basic LM Studio. This includes journaling your daily experiences and insights, where AI stores them locally with tags. Asking questions later like, what did I learn about meditation last month, where AI retrieves relevant journal entries. Connecting ideas across time by saying, show me how my understanding of X has evolved over the past year. Why local AI is better here. Your personal insights, breakthroughs, and reflections stay private. No corporate server storing your inner journey. Study and learning support includes uploading course materials or textbooks and asking, create practice questions to test my understanding. Explaining difficult concepts like, walk me through this math problem step by step. Research assistance for papers and theses like, help me find connections between these 5 sources. Why local AI is better here. Your learning process, questions you're embarrassed to ask publicly, and research directions stay private. No algorithm tracking what you study or when you struggle. Level 3, advanced tasks for maximum capability with long-term memory system required. These require powerful hardware but offer transformative capabilities. Multi-document synthesis includes uploading 10+ research papers and asking, synthesize the main arguments across all of them. Analyzing entire book series by saying, what are the common themes in these 8 books? Complex problem solving like, here are 5 different sources about a problem. What solutions do they suggest and which one makes most sense? Why local AI is better here. You can analyze proprietary research, confidential reports, or sensitive strategic planning documents without any external exposure. This matters for business strategy work, legal case preparation, medical treatment planning, government and political analysis, which is critical. Personal memory and continuity. If you're using some long-term memory system, Agent is able to remember and recall stored memories. If not, every conversation is clean slate without any context. AI remembers your preferences over time, like you mentioned you prefer concise answers, and remembers this. Tracking long-term projects by saying, show me everything I've worked on about food security this year. Pattern recognition across months of journaling, like what themes keep appearing in my daily reflections. Why local AI is better here. Your memories belong to you, not a corporation that could change terms of service, ban your account, or sell data to third parties. You control when memories are deleted, or never delete them at all. Basic users can start without this feature, but they will lose a huge power of this technology. They will not get artificial assistant with full memory, but only simple amnesia chatbot. Voice-enabled interaction is possible, but mostly requires NVIDIA CUDA GPUs for now. AMD is still behind in some software-related things. This includes speaking naturally instead of typing like, Jarvis, what's on my schedule today? AI responds with voice, spoken answers instead of text, which is useful while doing something else than citing on your desk. Multilingual support, where you speak in English and AI understands and responds in your native language. Why local AI is better here. Your voice recordings never go to cloud servers for transcription. No company storing recordings of your conversations or using them to train models. Everything stays on your machine. The common thread, sovereignty over inner life. Notice what all these use cases have in common. They're things you'd want to keep private. Personal health research, financial planning discussions, legal concerns and questions, political opinions or critiques of systems, spiritual insights and deep inquiries, family matters and relationship issues, creative works in progress that aren't public yet. When you use cloud AI for these topics, you're exposing them to corporate servers that may be compromised, employees who could read them, government agencies with warrants or subpoenas, future laws that could make your thoughts criminal. Local AI closes all those doors. Your inner life stays on your hardware. You decide what gets stored, for how long, and whether to delete it. That's sovereignty, and it matters more than most people realize until something goes wrong. Section 2.5, Why Big Tech Values Will Always Conflict with Yours. The fundamental problem big tech don't want you to think about. Let me be clear about something that most AI companies won't admit. Big tech companies have different values than you do. Their primary goals are to maximize profit because shareholders demand growth, increase user engagement because more time on platform equals more ad revenue, collect data because data is their product and users are the source, and maintain control because platform dependency keeps you locked in. Your primary goals, assuming you're reading this guide, are privacy and sovereignty because your inner life belongs to you, integrity over convenience because doing the right thing even when it's harder, independence from corporate control because not being dependent on someone else's infrastructure, and long-term thinking because protecting yourself for future decades, not just today. These goals are fundamentally incompatible. You cannot build a system that serves both profit maximization and sovereignty at the same time. One will always win, and when they conflict, corporations will choose profit because that's their legal obligation to shareholders. How this plays out, real examples. Let me show you how this conflict manifests in practice. Example 1. Privacy policy changes. In 2023, company announces, "We value your privacy. Your data is yours." By 2025, stock price drops and they need new revenue streams. The company changes terms saying, "Your conversation data may be used to train models and shared with partners. You have no choice, either accept new terms or lose access to all your history." This has happened repeatedly. Cloud services change their policies because shareholder pressure demands growth, and user privacy is a cost they're willing to cut when needed. Example 2. AI safety versus user needs. Company announces, "We're implementing safety filters to protect users." Reality is the filter blocks certain topics based on corporate judgment, not your needs. You want to research X topic, which is legally fine for you to explore. But cloud AI refuses, saying, "I can't discuss that because company policy says so." Who decides what's safe? The corporation, not you. And their definition of safe is whatever protects them from liability, not whatever serves your actual needs. Example 3. Service shutdowns. Company announces, "We're discontinuing this service on December 1st. Your data is stored in their system for years, your journal entries, insights, conversations. Can you export it?" Sometimes yes, sometimes no, that's their choice. What happens after shutdown? Your memories disappear unless they let you take them. This is dependency. You've built part of your inner life on infrastructure you don't control. And when they turn off the switch, you lose access to yourself, literally. The alignment problem, why you can't trust their AI. Here's something some people misunderstand about AI alignment. When companies say their AI is aligned, what they mean is aligned with our values, not yours. Their values include profit growth, user engagement metrics, regulatory compliance, which is minimum required, not ethical ideal, and shareholder returns. Your values might include privacy and sovereignty, spiritual practice integrity, family protection, long-term survival planning, truth over convenience. You cannot align an AI to your values if you don't control its memories, the training data, what information was used to teach it. The fine-tuning process, how was human feedback incorporated? The memory system, does it remember your experiences or generic patterns? And the usage policies, who decides what questions get asked and for what purpose? When all of these are controlled by someone else, the AI is aligned with their goals, not yours. And when your goals conflict, which they will, their goals win because they control the system. Long-term memory stored locally, your aligned alternative. Now let me show you the alternative, local AI systems that learn your alignment. How long-term memory works. You store memories locally on your encrypted storage. Each memory is tagged with context like meditation notes, spiritual insights, research findings. When you ask questions later, AI retrieves your memories, not generic training data. Over time, the system learns your patterns, your values, your priorities. The difference between cloud AI and local AI with stored memory. Cloud AI remembers everything by default, while memory belongs to company. Values come from training data and can't be deleted due to data retention policies. And it's accessible via legal process. Local AI with stored memory lets you control what gets remembered. Memory belongs to you. Values come from your memories and instructions. You decide when to delete anything, and there's no external access possible. The result, your AI becomes aligned with your values because you train it on your experiences, store your insights, and control what gets remembered. It learns from you, not from generic internet data or corporate priorities. This is the difference between renting a tool, which is cloud AI, and owning a partner, which is local AI with your own memory system. Section 2.6. The choice control returns to you. 3 ways to use AI today. Let me show you the 3 paths available with clear trade-offs. Path A, cloud AI only. What it is, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, all cloud-based. Pros, fast, convenient, no setup required. Cons, complete loss of privacy, legal exposure, spiritual fragmentation, dependency on corporate systems. Best for casual use, non-sensitive topics, people who prioritize convenience over sovereignty. Path B, local AI with LM Studio only. What it is, download models, run locally on your computer, no agent setup. Pros, privacy maintained, conversations stay on your machine, no external access possible. Cons: no system-level capabilities, can't install software or configure services through AI, no long-term memory. Best for people who want privacy but aren't ready for full agentic systems. Path C: full agentic system with local plus agent. What it is, local AI with full system access, can install software, manage files, configure entire system. Pros: maximum capability, complete control, learns your alignment through storing memories. Cons: requires fresh OS install on dedicated hardware, no personal data allowed on agent-accessible machine. Best for people ready to commit fully to sovereignty and willing to maintain proper boundaries. The choice is yours to make. None of these paths is wrong, they're just different trade-offs based on what you value most right now. The key decision point: what matters most? Here's a question that will help you decide which path is right for you. How much sovereignty am I willing to give up for convenience? If the answer is all of it, choose Path A, Cloud AI. If the answer is some but not everything, choose Path B, Local AI only. If the answer is none, my inner life stays mine, choose Path C, Full Agentic System. Choice is yours, but do it consciously instead of accidentally. Most people choose Path A without realizing what they're giving up. This guide exists so you don't make that mistake. What sovereignty actually feels like. Let me describe something most people have never experienced: the feeling of complete sovereignty over your AI. When you use local AI on your own hardware with your own memory system, you ask a question, an answer comes from your data, not corporate servers. You save insights, and they stay encrypted on your encrypted storage. You configure the system, no telemetry, no backdoor access, no corporate watching. You decide what to delete, it's gone forever or kept forever, your choice. The feeling is freedom. Not the marketing kind of freedom companies advertise. Real freedom, knowing nothing about your inner life, exists anywhere except where you choose it to exist. This is why sovereignty matters. This is why I'm writing this guide. Because once you experience what it feels like to have a truly yours AI assistant, not rented, not surveilled, not controlled by anyone else, you'll never want to go back to cloud dependency. Your next step, Chapter 3 Preview. Now that you understand what LLMs are and how they work, they're tools neutral until controlled. How local AI works on your hardware, everything stays on your machine. Hardware requirements based on RAM, you don't need expensive gear to start. Practical use cases for everyday life, privacy matters for personal research. Why big tech values conflict with yours, profit versus sovereignty, is not a negotiable tension. And the choice between cloud, local only, and full agentic systems. You're ready for the next step, getting it set up. In Chapter 3, I'll show you exactly how to check your current hardware capabilities, which takes 2 minutes for RAM check. Download and install LM Studio with step-by-step guide. Choose and download your first model with simple explanation of sizes. Have your first conversation with local AI as hands-on exercise, and understand when to consider upgrading hardware or going full agentic. But before we get there, take a breath. You've just learned more about AI than most normies realize in their entire lifetime. And now you're ready for the real work, making it yours. Let's get your sovereign system running. Chapter summary: what you've learned so far. Let me recap the key points from this chapter. 1. LLMs on their own are neutral high-tech tools. They have no values until someone put them in and later controls them in certain direction. 2. How local AI works. Everything runs on your hardware. Nothing leaves your computer. 3. Hardware requirements depend on RAM. 8 to 16 gigabytes for basic models. 32 to 64 gigabytes for serious work. 96 plus gigabytes for maximum capability. 4. Practical use cases exist at every level: writing help, research, document analysis, personal memory management. 5. Big tech values will always conflict with yours. Profit versus sovereignty is not a negotiable tension. 6. Long-term memory creates alignment with your values. Your memories train your AI to help you, not corporations. 7. You have 3 paths: cloud, local only, or full agentic. Each has trade-offs based on what you value most. Reflection exercise: what matters most to you? Before moving to Chapter 3, take a moment to reflect on these questions. No need to write down answers. 1. What topics do you regularly research that would make you uncomfortable if someone else could see them? Your answer reveals what you're willing to risk with cloud AI. 2. How much convenience are you willing to trade for sovereignty? Few hours of setup time gives complete privacy. Is it worth your time? My answer, yes, absolutely. 3. Which path feels right for you right now? Cloud only means acknowledge the risks and proceed anyway. Local AI only is good balance of privacy and simplicity. Full agentic system is commitment to complete sovereignty. Your answers will guide what to do next. There's no wrong choice as long as it's conscious. No technical expertise required. If you can install an app, you can do this.